Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Welcome to the April 21st, 2025 Palmetto State Baseball Podcast. This podcast is part of my coverage of college baseball in South Carolina. I offer scores, schedules, rankings, notes, and other news about all 33 teams in the state. You can see that at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Also, I'm doing a daily video recap at my YouTube channel. You can listen to or watch that if it's not more convenient for you than trying to read what's posted at the website. I also post on X under the handle of Palmetto Base. You can email me at rudyjones@palmettostatebaseball.com or message me on X with compliments, criticisms, complaints, or suggestions. What do I need to do better to cover college baseball in South Carolina? If you like my coverage of college baseball in the state, tell your baseball fan friends about it. All of my coverage is free. The only income the site produces is from ad clicks, and you don't have to do that if you don't want to. With no sponsor, I spend a little time each week telling you about Reed River Baptist Church, where I worship. It's on US 25 bypass between Travelers Rest and Furman University Golf Course in Greenville County. Worship times at 10:30 on Sunday mornings, and we're usually out by around 11:30 or 11:45. Our worship style is a blend of hymns and praise song, and our pastor, Josh Slatton, preaches the gospel of Jesus Christ. We have no official dress code. Some men wear jackets or suits, others wear casual shirts. Some women wear dresses, some wear pants. Again, just so it's tasteful, you're fine. For more information like our ministries or times of other services, visit reederriverbc.org. Come check us out. I believe you will feel comfortable worshiping with us. And I think you'll feel welcome as well. There was awful news for Limestone's baseball team last week. The school announced that because of financial issues that they would be looking at either switching to online learning only or shutting down altogether because of financial issues. The school said it needed $6 million in emergency funds by April the 22nd, which is tomorrow as I record this. That's pretty big matzo ball there. Even if the school should maintain its brick-and-mortar presence, it appears athletics and other extracurricular activities will be dropped. There have been many social posts of Limestone players announcing their entry into the transfer portal. Sadly, Limestone coach Brett Harker will be a valuable resource for those transfers. Why do I say sadly, you ask? It's because Harker has been through this before. He was the head coach at Furman when the school decided to drop baseball after the 2020 season. He worked hard to help Paladin players and recruits find a new home. A couple of them are still playing. Now he's having to do that again, as well as find a new job for himself. Tough times, but I count on Brett to get through it. One other thing, it was announced on Monday that there's been a GoFundMe campaign started for Tim Wallace, the head coach at Spartanburg Methodist College for many, many years. Tim is dealing with health issues and is now needing full-time care. Look on GoFundMe.com and look up Tim Wallace, and you can get information there about giving. I'm going to give. I hope you will too. Now let's take a look back at last week involving the state's college team. Clemson didn't have a midweek game last week. They went 2-1 in a series against Louisville. Thursday night they won with Aiden Kanak pitching as usual. Friday night they got a great start from Drew Titsworth in his first career start, and they won that game. Then on Saturday they rallied a couple of times, eventually forcing extra innings, but Louisville won on a 2-run homer in the 12th, 8-6. That salvaged the final game of the series for the Cardinals. Cam Canarella had a tremendous catch in center field against Louisville to rob a batter of a home run. Look it up on YouTube. It's worth seeing. Elsewhere, South Carolina was playing at home against Ole Miss. The Gamecocks had a midweek win over the Citadel. Then on Thursday night in the series opener, they got a complete game from Brandon Stone. It was their first 9-inning complete game in about 4 or 5 years, and won that game. The Gamecocks won again on Friday, and they were hoping to do better on Saturday. They had hoped that Dylan Eskew would be available to pitch. He's been dealing with some back and other issues. But Coach Paul Maneri found out before the game he just didn't feel confident with putting Eskew out there. So he put out Jarvis Evans, and Evans did not get her batter out. The Rebels scored 7 runs in the first inning en route to a 12-2 run rule win. One notable thing about that 7-run first inning, Austin Foley of the Rebels hit a grand slam, and the ball landed over in the concourse area and bounced up to where his mother caught it on one bounce. Pretty neat stuff. I'm sure that Mom and son will both remember that trip to Columbia fondly. In addition to the concerns over SQ, Carolina got some more players injured as well. Catcher Gavin Brayland had to leave after he took a foul ball off the knuckle. Shortstop Henry Kazmar left over with some kind of a health issue. And then pitcher Matthew Becker, who pitched well in relief, strained something, tweaked something, tried to pitch through it, and gave up a home run on the next pitch and had to leave the game. Not sure what's going on with him there, but the Gamecocks could certainly use him getting healthy again. After that week, the Gamecocks are now 23-18. I think I've neglected to mention that Clemson's 35-10. Coastal Carolina went 3-1 last week. The Chanticleers lost to Wake Forest midweek. Then they swept Marshall in a 3-game series in Conway. The Chanticleers hit double figures in runs in all 3 games, and they also run ruled the Thundering Herd in the final game. Coastal's now won 3 straight games, and they're at 30-10. College of Charleston got a midweek win over the Citadel, then went up to Massachusetts and was promptly shut out by first-place CAA team Northeastern. The Cougars did not score in any of the 3 games. They got run ruled on Sunday. They were shut out for 25 innings, and they dropped to 22-16 overall, and they're on a 3-game losing streak. Wofford went 2-2 last week with a midweek win over USC Upstate, and then the Terriers went 1-2 up at Western Carolina. They won the first game, then dropped the last 2, including a run rule loss on Friday. The Terriers are now 24-17. USC Upstate bounced back from that loss to Wofford in midweek with a win over UNC Greensboro to open the non-conference Battle of the Spartans on Thursday night. On Friday, UNCG evened it up. And then on Saturday, the visiting Spartans took an 11-2 lead after 1.5 innings. And Max Kaplan came in and shut the Spartans out through the 8th inning. Meanwhile, Spartanburg rallied. They got within 11-10. Then they scored 8 runs in the bottom of the 8th to go up 18-11. Greensboro did score a couple runs in the 9th inning. Final score was 18-13, but that was a nice comeback win for the Spartans of USC Upstate. Upstate is now 21-19 overall. Charleston Southern went 3-1 last week, sweeping a Big South Conference series against Longwood. The Buccaneers lost their first 6 games in conference play, went 2-1 over the next one to be at 2-7. They've now won 6 straight in the conference. They are 22-14 overall under Coach Carl Kuhn, and they've won 3 straight. The Citadel only played twice last week, losing to South Carolina and College of Charleston. The Bulldogs had a rare weekend off, and it just happened to be Easter weekend. I'm sure several of the players and coaches appreciated that. The Bulldogs are 19-19 and have lost 3 straight. Winthrop is 4-0. They got a midweek win over Davidson, then swept Gardner-Webb in a Big South Conference series at Founders Field. Winthrop has now won 4 straight to move up to 22-20. It's the first time that the Eagles have been over 500 in a while. Presbyterian went 0-4 last week. The weekend they got swept by Radford. Tough loss on the final game. The Blue Hose were up 8-6. Radford scored 3 runs late. The go-ahead run unearned to win that game 9-8. PC's now lost 6 straight games, and they're 16-22 overall. North Greenville went 4-1 last week, extending its winning streak to 16 games before King knocked them off in the second game of a doubleheader on Saturday. North Greenville is now 40-9. Francis Marion had a 4-0 week, including a sweep of Shawan down at Francis Marion in Florence. The Patriots are now 36-11. Lander had a 4-0 week, and the Bearcats have now won 5 straight. Lander's at 33-13. The weekend sweep came at the expense of Claflin in Peach Belt Conference play. The Bearcats had a tough outing. The Panthers of Claflin had a great outing from pitcher Elijah Bonner on Saturday. He held Lander to 2 runs through 7 innings and on 4 hits, and then Lander broke it open with 4 runs in the 8th, wound up winning 6-2. And as I said, the Bearcats are now 33-13. With that loss, Claflin now has lost 28 straight games. They're 5-36-1 on the season. Coker went 1-3 last week. They're now 26-20. Newberry went 3-1, including a weekend sweep of Anderson in the South Atlantic Conference play. They're at 25-21. Anderson, who lost those games to Newberry, had a 1-3 week with a win over Southern Wesleyan. They are now 23-22. Limestone We mentioned them before, that 1-2 week. They went to 1-2 and lost won their final game of the series at Wingate. They're now 22-23. I know there are still several games left in the season, and I'm not saying Limestone's going to lose them all, but I know it had to be a satisfying feeling for the players and coaches to be assured they get one more win in case the program is indeed shut down. They can say, we won one after it got cut. Benedict went 2-5 last week. They were swept by Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference leader Spring Hill in 3 games. None of them were particularly close. But with that sweep, Spring Hill clinched the regular season championship in the SIAC, the first NCAA team to do it this season. Nice work. The Tigers, as I say, went 2-5. They're 19-16 on the season. Erskine went 0-4 last week, including losing 3 at UNC Pembroke. The Flying Fleet is now 18-28, and they've lost 5 straight. USC Aiken went 0-3, including a close extra inning loss at first place in North Georgia in the Peach Belt Conference. The Pacers are now 18-27. Southern Wesleyan was 0-5 last week. The Warriors are now 9-38, and they've lost 5 straight games as they close out and go down the stretch of the season. USC Beaufort was playing at Flagler in the Peach Belt Conference last week. They lost the first and second games on a run scored by Flagler in the final at bat. Then on Saturday, Beaufort got the only run of the game on a passed ball in the 5th inning and held on to win 1-0 to salvage the final game of the series. The Sand Sharks are now 9-33 overall. Among NAIA and NCCAA teams, Columbia International had a 4-0 week. They swept. Here I go again. They swept their conference home series against Kentucky Christian, Columbia International is now 4-0 for the week. They're 28-17 overall. Spartanburg Methodist went 2-4. They played 4 games down in Lawrenceville, Georgia at the Continental Athletic Conference Showdown. They beat Carolina University twice and lost to Georgia Gwinnett twice. Georgia Gwinnett is one of the better NAIA teams in the country, one of the better programs over the last decade or so. Spartanburg is now 19-27. Voorhees didn't actually play last week, but they picked up 3 wins because Oakwood had to forfeit that HBCU Athletic Conference Series. Not sure the particulars on that. But with those forfeits, Voorhees now is on an 8-game winning streak. Of course, 5 of those go in on the field. The Tigers are now 21-17. Bob Jones went 1-3 last week, including losing 2 of 3 against Southeastern Baptist. The Bruins are now 10-25, but with that win in the final game of the series on Saturday, they did break a 7-game losing streak. Morris went 0-3 last week, and the Hornets are now 1-34 and have lost 10 straight games. Among NJCAA teams, Forest Arlington Tech stretched its winning streak to 12 games before losing to USC Sumter on Friday. The Stingers are now 41-9 in overall. They went 3-1 last week. USC Lancaster also had a 3-1 week. They won 2 of 3 over USC Union. The Lancers are 22-23. Sumter with that 1-2 a week against Forest Arlington Tech is 24-22. USC Union at 1-3 last week is 28-18. And USC Salkehatchie went 0-3 last week to go to 2-43. There's some. They did win 1 of 2 on Monday against Gordon State, so that was nice about that. I named Charleston Southern the Palmetto State Baseball Team of the Week for April the 14th through 20th. As I mentioned, the Buccaneers swept a series against Longwood to move back above 500 in the Big South Conference. Clemson remained number 1 in the Palmetto State Baseball rankings for Division I teams. North Greenville in Division II, Columbia International for NAIA and NCCAA, and Forest Arlington Tech for junior colleges remained atop the other divisions. So let's take a look at the standings in the conferences now. These are all through Sunday. Florida State is now in first place by percentage points over Clemson. The Seminoles are 11-4. They did not get to play their weekend series against Virginia because of the shooting on campus in Tallahassee. The Seminoles are 29-7 overall. Clemson's in second place. They're actually a half game ahead of the Seminoles, if you will, by sheer numbers. They go by percentage point. The Tigers are 13-5 and 35-7, followed by Georgia Tech at 14-7 in the conference, 29-11. NC State is 12-6 and 27-12. I'll go down through the teams that are at least 500. North Carolina is 13-8, 31-9 overall. Duke is 12-9, 28-14. Louisville is 10-8, 28-11. Miami is 9-9, 24-17. Watch out for the Hurricanes. They're getting hot. They swept Georgia Tech over the weekend. And Virginia, which did not get to play down at FSU, is 9-9 and 20-15. Well, how about the ACC? Or the SEC, I'm sorry. Texas swept Auburn, and they've now built a 3-game lead over Arkansas for first place in the conference standings. The Longhorns are 16-2 overall, 33-5 in the overall. I'm sorry, 62 conference, 33-5 overall. Arkansas lost 2 of 3 to Texas A&M to fall back to 13-5, 34-7. A game behind them are LSU at 12-6, 34-7, and Tennessee at 12-6, 33-7. Vanderbilt swept Georgia, and they're now up to 11-7 in the conference, 30-10 overall. After that sweep, Georgia's now 10-8. They're tied with Oklahoma and Ole Miss for 10-8. The Dogs are 33-9. The Sooners are 29-10 overall, and Ole Miss is 28-12. Alabama is 9-9, 31-10 in the conference in the overall. Auburn is 9-9 in the conference and 27-13. We'll go work our way all the way down to South Carolina. Kentucky and Texas A&M are 8-10. Florida and Mississippi State are 6-12. South Carolina is 4-14. So they're 2 games out of being in a tie for 13th place. They need to pick up some of these games they've been losing. And closing out is Ole Miss at 0-18. Coastal Carolina now has a 2-game lead over Southern Miss and Troy in the Sun Belt Conference. The Chanticleers are 14-4 in the conference. Southern Miss is 12-6, as is Troy. Appalachian State's at 11-7. Louisiana is at 10-8. Georgia Southern and Georgia State are at 9-9. In the Southern Conference, UNCG had a week off from conference play last week. They're 7-2. Behind them are East Tennessee State and Samford at 8-4. Mercer is at 6-6. The Citadel, which was idle last week, is at 4-5. Followed by VMI at 5-7. Western Carolina at 4-8, and Wofford at 3-9. In the Coastal Athletic Association, as I mentioned, Northeastern sweeping Charleston put some ground between the Huskies and the rest of the league. Northeastern's 13-2 in the league. UNCW and William & Mary are at 9-6. Delaware, North Carolina A&T, and Stony Brook are all at 8-7, and Charleston is at 7-8, along with Monmouth. So the Cougars have got a lot of wood to chop if they want to get back up into the top half of the standings. In the Big South, High Point is 11-4 in the conference. USC Upstate is 8-4. Charleston Southern is 8-7. Presbyterian is also 8-7, as is Winthrop, and so is Radford. Moving on to Division II, Young Harris is in first place in Conference Carolinas with a 20-7 record. Francis Marion is in second place at 22-8. They're actually a half game ahead, but they go by percentages again. North Greenville is at 19-8. Francis Marion, by the way, has completed its conference schedule. Young Harris and North Greenville are still at it. Barton is at 18-9, as is Belmont Abbey. Looking on down, Southern Wesleyan is at 8-19. They're tied with King. Erskine is at 7-20 in the conference. In the Peach Belt Conference, North Georgia with that sweep over USC Aiken is at 21-3 in the Peach Belt. Lander is a game and a half. Lander should be 20-4. Excuse me, I've got it written down wrong. Lander's 20-4, so they're a game back. Look elsewhere among state teams. USC Aiken is at 8-16. USC Beaufort is at 5-19, and USC Claflin is at 0-24. In the South Atlantic Conference, Catawba is in first place with a 22-5 record. Lenore Ryan is at 20-7. Carson Newman is at 19-8. Virginia Wise, Coker, and Limestone are all tied at 14-13. Lincoln Memorial and Wingate are tied at 13-14. Newberry is at 14-16. They've completed their conference schedule. Anderson is at 11-16. In the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, as I mentioned, Spring Hill wrapped up the regular season championship with that sweep of Benedict. Spring Hill is now 27-2. In second place is Savannah State. Benedict is at 15-14, and they're in sixth place right now in the conference. In the Appalachian Athletic Conference, Reinhardt is in first place with a 21-6 mark. Tennessee Wesleyan is at 20-7. Johnson is 19-8. Then you have Bryan and Milligan at 16-11. Pikeville is at 17-13. Columbia International is at 14-13. In the Continental Athletic Conference, Georgia Gwinnett has a 7-0 conference mark. The Grizzlies are 42-4 overall. Florida National is at 6-1. Spartanburg Methodist is at 8-3 in conference play, and Morris is 0-11 in the CAC. In the HBCU Athletic Conference, Voorhees is at 16-11 in the East Division. They are 8 games behind first place Talladega. Talladega is at 24-3. Stillman is at 21-9. In Junior College Region 10, Florence Darlington Tech is at 23-4. They've already clinched the regular season championship and top seed for the conference tournament. Gaston College has clinched the second seed for the conference tournament with a 18-9 record. USC Lancaster right now is in third place at 14-13. USC Union and USC Sumter are both at 12-15, and USC Salkehatchie is at 2-25. Looking at some of the races for some of the conference spots, the Appalachian Athletic Conference, Columbia International is in pretty good shape. It's if it's the same as last year, it'll be a 10-team bracket. They will qualify for that. And the division, reason I go to Division II is because the Division I teams have still got much time left. In the Conference Carolinas, Francis Marion and North Greenville are in excellent shape. I don't believe there's any way that Erskine or Southern Wesleyan can make it in there. Lander is in second place in the Peach Belt. The top 8 teams qualify. So right now, USC Aiken is in. If they probably need to win their games this weekend, and USC Beaufort might possibly be able to slide by Augusta. Not sure about that, but USC Aiken looks to be in the best shape of any of those schools to make it. And in the South Atlantic Conference, Coker, Virginia Wise, and Limestone are all tied for 4th. 8 teams make it. So that means that's 4, 5, 6. 7 and 8 are Lincoln Memorial and Wingate. And Newberry could possibly get in if Lincoln Memorial and or Wingate get swept this weekend. And Anderson would have to win all 3 games to even have a remote chance of getting in. It's a possibility, but I don't know. It looks like Coker has the best chance of getting in from any of the state teams right now. Coker and Limestone, excuse me. In the SIAC, as I mentioned, Benedict should be in good shape. Let's see, moving on. Let's take a look at the matchups involving midweek teams this week in the state schedule. We have, on Tuesday, South Carolina has a home game against North Florida. Elsewhere in games involving matching up state teams, the big one on Tuesday night is Georgia at Clemson, 2 ranked teams. That'll be at 6 o'clock at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. That'll be the premier game in the state. Presbyterian has a midweek game at North Carolina at 3 o'clock. That game's been moved up from nighttime because of weather issues. Other teams at home in the state are Wofford is at home against Queens. Charleston Southern travels down I-26 to face the Citadel. Erskine is at Lander. Newberry's at USC Aiken. Winthrop plays a return visit to Davidson after beating the Wildcats up in Davidson, or beating them in Rock Hill, excuse me. In other games, Payne is at Voorhees for a doubleheader at 1 o'clock. The Florence Darlington Tech has a home doubleheader against the Columbia International JV. USC Sumter has added a 2 o'clock doubleheader against the Carolina Blue Claws. Morris is at Carolina University. USC Beaufort's at Savannah State. Brevard is at Bob Jones is at Brevard. Anderson is at Limestone. Excuse me, I'm not reading well. That's why I usually type it up. Anderson's at Augusta. Limestone at Belmont Abbey. North Greenville at North Georgia. And USC Upstate is at Tennessee Tech. Not many games on Wednesday. We have USC Upstate playing game 2 at Tennessee Tech. Southern Wesleyan is over to Limestone. On Thursday, Columbia International opens a conference series against Reinhardt at 5 o'clock. Moving on to the weekend. On Friday, Clemson goes up to NC State for an important ACC series. Tigers trying to top a dangerous Wolfpack team. NC State's again starting to play like they were expected to during the early part of the season. South Carolina has a trip up to Kentucky. This is a series that the Gamecocks need to win if they want to have any chance of not only climbing in the standings, but slipping in as an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. They'll have trouble against a Kentucky team that likes to run a lot. USC's got to get better pitching than they've been getting. And, who knows? But Carolina's, they got to show up and do something. Elsewhere, Charleston Southern's at Presbyterian for a weekend series in Clinton. Coastal Carolina goes up to James Madison for a series. UNCW is at College of Charleston. College of Charleston is going to be trying to lick its wounds a little bit and try to get back on target. Elsewhere, we have continuation of that. Winthrop is at Longwood, and VMI is at the Citadel. In other series involving state teams, Benedict's at Kentucky State, Shoulders at Erskine, Carolina University's at Bob Jones, Coker's at Tusculum, Columbus State is at Claflin, Lander's at Georgia Southwestern, Lenore Ryan is at Anderson, USC Aiken is at USC Beaufort, and picking up on Saturday with Region 10, they'll be playing their final region games of the season. USC Salkehatchie is at home against USC Sumter for a doubleheader. Gaston College is at USC Lancaster for a 3-game series. USC Union is at Florence Darlington Tech. Payne has a Saturday visit to Morris. You can always find the complete schedule at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. If you enjoy my podcast and other coverage of college baseball in South Carolina, tell your baseball fan friends about PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Also, let me know what you think I can do better. I believe baseball is the greatest sport God ever allowed to be invented, and I want my coverage to be the best it can be. Email your comments, compliments, criticisms, or suggestions to me at rudyjones@PalmettoStateBaseball.com. As a reminder, I invite you to worship with me at Reedy River Baptist Church on Sundays. It's at 875 North 25 Bypass between Travelers Rest and the Furman University Golf Course. I hope you'll discover that we're a friendly church and will want to worship with us often. Worship time is at 10:30. You can learn more about our website, or about our church, at our website at reedyriverbc.org. Again, I apologize for all the stumbles and missteps in this episode. I got behind in trying to get things done today, and I was trying to wing it, and I find out I need to work off of a script. Sorry about that. Anyway, thanks again for listening to the April 21st, 2025 episode of the Palmetto State Baseball Podcast. This is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com saying, it's a beautiful day for baseball. Let's play two.